Joker and Harley Quinn are one of the most famous supervillain couples in comics. And it's also the most abusive relationship in comics that has endured for as long as theirs has. Or at least did. But we're going to take a look at the abuse that has occurred between the two of them over the years, how it started, and what it has finally led to. Now, it's obviously a sensitive subject matter. Don't worry, we're not going to be getting too dark. But if you have any history of this, well, I'd advise you to watch at your own discretion. Now, the character of Harley Quinn was invented for the TV show Batman the Animated Series, and she was originally just there as Joker's girlfriend. I mean, really, she was just another lackey in the group who happened to be a woman. But as the show went on, the character got a bit more fleshed out, and she did become the Joker's girlfriend outright. They even had a sort of relationship with one another, but it was quite abusive. Now, for me, the abuse between them really started in the episode Beware the Creeper. Now, Harley is trying to get the Joker to celebrate their anniversary by performing a now legendary sexy dance and trying to get Joker to eat her pie. All of which he doesn't care about at all, which is pretty abusive in itself since it must have taken hours, if not days, to make a pie that big. But instead of celebrating, the Joker throws her out of the back door and onto the street. And she in turn then tries to find another way to make him happy, and still goes running back to him. Like I said, it's a weirdly abusive relationship where she'll just do anything he wants, like a cult leader. And then in another episode, Mad Love, she tries to relax him after an evil scheme has gone wrong, and so Joker throws her on the floor, berates her, shoots acid at her, and then he throws her out the back door and onto the street. This seems to be his signature move to end a discussion between the two of them. And like everyone in an abusive, codependent relationship, she doesn't see this as a red flag, but instead just makes excuses for all this, justifying the Joker's behaviour by saying that there was love between them once, and it's only fading because Joker is stressed and overworked in his fight with Batman. So Harley decides that if she can get rid of Batman for the Joker, then the Joker will have less stress and more free time to spend with her, and their relationship will be happy and healthy once more. And Harley does manage to capture the Dark Knight relatively easily. She's a very intelligent and resourceful woman after all, at least when she's away from the Joker. He kind of drags her down because he's always sabotaging, berating, and, well, keeping her down. And then when she tells the Joker that she's captured Batman, he does exactly that. He loses it at her. After all, she has done in one afternoon what the Joker has failed to do for years. So he berates her, and then he throws her out of a third-story window, hurting her so much that she ends up in the hospital in a very severe condition. Joker also frees Batman because his ego won't allow for anyone else to take Batman down, which of course is a very stupid thing to do because it then means Batman can take the Joker down. And you would think that after all of this, Harley would want to break up with the Joker. And you'd actually be right. You see, being hospitalised has finally opened her eyes, and she finally sees that the Joker has led her astray, from being a respected psychiatrist to a wanted fugitive. Of course, this only lasts until she sees that the Joker has sent her flowers. And this one small act of compassion brings all of her love for Joker back, and the two continue to date in this universe. Now obviously there are still more instances of abuse here and there, but the next major one is in the Justice League Unlimited show, which is in the same universe. And this one is really weird in my opinion, because Batman manages to convince Harley that the Joker is replacing her with Ace by having her near him and the way that he is looking and touching her. And the reason that's creepy is because Ace is just a kid. I mean, I know they're just kind of implying it, but still it's weird. I mean, she looks like she's about 12. I mean, she may be older, but she doesn't look that old, and it just kind of makes the whole thing extra creepy. Especially since it's immediately followed by the fact that Harley confronts the Joker on it, and Joker doesn't deny it, but he does get aggressive and slaps her. All of which is very confusing for Harley, and quite frankly for the audience as well. I mean, he's obviously not going to replace her with Ace. It's a very weird scene if you ask me. And I watched this as a kid, and even then I knew there was something wrong with the whole scene, even though I didn't fully understand why. I mean, like I say, I was young so I didn't really get it. But anyway, this whole thing shows us that nothing has changed. Harley is still obsessed with the Joker, even though he treats her like garbage. Couldn't tell you why, but after all, he is quite a charismatic and famous person, at least supposedly. And I wish I could say that we then had a happy ending and it was all resolved, but the sad truth is that in this universe, we don't see a happy ending. After all, in Batman Begins, Return of the Joker, Their relationship only ends because Joker dies, and I doubt Harley ever really recovers mentally, though she does seem to have the Joker's child, as her grandchildren even join the Joker gang. It's shown later on in the film. But there is actually some hope for her. The film Batman and Harley is supposed to be in a separate universe with the same events of the TV show, meaning everything I've said till now is the same, except for the film Return of the Joker, so the Joker's still alive. And instead, we see that Harley has finally realised what the Joker is, and has at least broken up with him, and is trying to get her life back together. Though her criminal past means that she can only work in a minimum wage paying waitressing job, in what is the supervillain equivalent of Hooters. I mean, the funny thing about this is they're sort of making sexy supervillain girls, even though all of these girls are basically mass murderers. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who like that. I mean, there's enough documentaries on Netflix about serial killers to prove that people really like that, but still, kind of weird. But at least we see that when a man treats her badly, she now stands up for herself. Now, not a great ending to her life, because let's be honest, it is in ruins after everything that happened with the Joker, and she's really struggling to rebuild it. But she has got away from him, and that is still the best thing she could do. Sure, she's still got difficulties and troubles, but they're just the normal difficulties and troubles. At least there's not someone abusing her. And in the long run, it is best for her. But as time has gone on, Harley has started to stand up for herself as a character. In media, she's becoming more of a, you treated me badly, now I'm going to stop it. And a great example of this is in the Injustice Gods Among Us video game. Now, in the Injustice game, the story revolves around the multiverse, though we only really focus on the two main universes. In one, Joker is clearly abusive. When Harley talks back to him, he just slaps her without hesitation and then sends her away like a bad child being punished, so that he can be alone with Batman. And it's very clear from her reaction that this is a very normal and most likely frequent occurrence for them. And then when this Joker switches to the other universe, he treats Harley there exactly the same way. Oh, he's charming and sweet at first. After all, her Joker is dead and she's just happy to see him alive again. But he pretty soon shows his true colours, being intimidating and threatening when he's in a bad mood, and then when she fails to beat Lex Luthor in a fight, he insults and discards her in an instant. And Harley can't believe that she fell for him yet again, which is actually unfortunately true of most abusive relationships. Those who have been in one are sadly quite likely to fall into another. And quite often they end up getting back together with the same person who abused them before. Which is why education on what is abusive is so important. It's kind of why I like the story of Harley. It really shows us that you have to say no. You don't have to just keep going back to them. Sure, they used to do that in the olden days, before they realised that people are actually learning from this, and what we're basically saying is it's okay to be in an abusive relationship. It's not. And they've learned that as time has gone on. And they show that in Harley Quinn's series. But before we get on to that, I'm just going to go over her ending in Injustice. You see, in her ending, Harley does get her revenge. As the two of them are getting married, Joker pushes her face into their wedding cake playfully, or at least it's meant to be playful, but he probably uses more force than is necessary. And oddly enough, this is actually the last straw. Harley snaps in an instant and stabs the Joker to death. Now, this is actually a real life thing. It's called battered wife syndrome. It's where a spouse reaches their breaking point. And it's not like they're losing their temper or anything like that. Apparently, it's actually quite a calm moment where they carefully and calmly murder their abuser. And it isn't so much caused by what the abuser last did to them. It's not necessarily something big or major. It could be something quite small, like pushing your face into a cake. You see, the whole thing is a culmination of abuse that has built until it finally becomes too much for them to bear. It's a different level for everyone, of course, depending on what they can take, but clearly, this was Harley's snapping point. And I actually learned about this in law class at college, and it is a recognised legal defence for murder, at least in the UK. Now, all of these different continuities are not technically linked, but they are clearly influenced by each other. I mean, you can tell that the writers expect us to know Harley's past from the movies and shows, so they're not going to go over it again. Not technically linked, but influenced. And the reason I'm telling you this is because it all culminates in the Harley Quinn show. Now, at the beginning of this show, Harley is still hopelessly in love with the Joker and does whatever he says without question, which leads to her getting captured and sent to Arkham Asylum. And the Joker, of course, promises to save her immediately, but really he just completely forgets about her. Not that Harley would accept this. Oh no, 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 no. She is trapped there for months without any contact from the Joker at all, yet she still believes with her whole heart that he is coming to rescue her. Now, her best friend Poison Ivy is trying to get her to see that she is deluding herself, but she isn't having much luck. And in the end, a year passes with her abandoned in Arkham, and every villain in there tells her that the Joker will not be coming to rescue her, but she still believes it. And so in the end, Ivy breaks her out, and she forces Harley to psychoanalyze herself in a last-ditch effort to get her to realise Joker is bad for her. And she actually thinks she's finally gotten through. Harley is able to understand that, yeah, he is actually wrong for her, and she goes to break up with him and confront him once and for all, and unfortunately the Joker thinks on his feet, and he lies to her. And he makes out that he wants to break up with her too, as he needs to distance himself from her in order to keep her safe, and that he didn't rescue her from Arkham Asylum in order to protect her. Of course, it's all a lie to keep her on his hook, and so she'll go back to being the Joker's lackey, which sadly she does, saying that she accepts the danger, and she is so happy that he tried to keep her safe. Abusive codependency is a hard condition to break, and it's very easy to fall back into. But fortunately, Ivy is not finished in trying to help her friend, and she arranges for the Riddler to capture both Harley and Batman, and then have the Joker choose which one lives and which one dies. Now, of course, Harley thinks he'll save her, but of course the Joker saves Batman instead. And this finally breaks the spell Joker has on Harley, and she not only ends their relationship, but she then beats the hell out of his henchman and blows up his hideout, while the Joker's inside. Though of course this is nothing compared to what the Joker has done to her in the past. But this is the problem with abusive codependency. The person being abused can't even see that there is a problem, and they will make endless excuses for them. And it's only when they finally realise that there is no future with them that they are finally able to move on. And that's actually what I love about this story, because it shows people out there what to do. Obviously you're not going to beat them up or blow up a building, but it shows them that there are red flags and it is okay to move on. It might seem silly that it's a cartoon showing you that, but trust me, this influences how people think. And I personally prefer a Harley who is much more than just Joker's lackey. I mean, she became a hell of a lot more interesting when she struck out on her own. And who doesn't love watching someone overcome their own trauma and get a little revenge on the person who abused them? I mean, it's a classic story for a reason. But that is the history of the abuse of these two characters in media, and how Harley has overcome her mental issues, at least some of them, so that she can grow as a person and get away from the Joker, and finally start having a life of her own. But what do you think of all this? Do you think the story has been handled well over the years? I mean, personally I'd say there's a lot of issues with it, but there are some good points here and there. And the sad truth is that there are so many abusive relationships in this world that almost all of us know someone who is a survivor of one, or we've been through it ourselves. That means that we all know something about this subject and we all have an opinion. So please, let us know what your thoughts are on this relationship and how it was handled. And normally I would pitch some merchandise here, but given the subject matter, I don't really feel comfortable doing that at the end. This isn't the type of video for that. So instead I'll just say thank you to all of you who have supported the Needle Mouse Productions channel, and as always, thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.